What if the universe wasn't just a vast stage, but a mirror reflecting your own gaze? Each time your eyes meet the world, something subtle awakens, not only in you, but in what you see. The trees, the stars, even the empty air seem to tremble under the weight of awareness. Imagine that every photon striking your retina carries back a trace of attention, as if the cosmos were studying itself through your vision. In that quiet exchange, existence becomes participatory. You look and the universe looks back. A beam of light passes through two slits. When no one watches, it behaves like a wave, spreading effortlessly into all possibilities. The moment a detector is placed, a witness, an observer, the wave collapses into a single path. The universe, it seems, waits for attention before choosing what to become. That's the unsettling beauty of the observer effect. The realization that looking is never passive. Every act of observation is an act of participation. For centuries, humanity imagined reality as a solid, objective ground, something independent of thought or perception. Yet the more science peers into the microscopic structure of matter, the more elusive that certainty becomes. The electron cannot be pinned down until someone asks where it is. The question itself alters the outcome. Awareness, it seems, is woven into the architecture of the physical world. Reality doesn't simply unfold, it responds, as though consciousness were a field capable of influencing the rhythm of existence. This idea is not confined to the laboratory. You experience it every day without naming it. When you look at someone with genuine care, their posture changes almost imperceptibly. When you enter a room filled with tension, your presence alone can ease or amplify the charge in the air. Observation carries weight, even when silent. It's not a metaphor, it's an energetic exchange. Just as particles align to attention, people, spaces, and moments subtly reconfigure around the quality of your awareness. Quantum physics may provide the poetic backdrop, but the essence of the observer effect lies closer than we imagine, within the fabric of perception itself. Every sensory input you receive, every micro-decision about what deserves your focus, modifies the map of your inner and outer worlds. The brain, constantly predicting and adjusting, creates the version of reality you inhabit. Neurons fire in patterns that reflect belief, expectation, and memory, forming a personal lens through which existence is interpreted. The outer world and the inner observer become partners in a dance of creation. Imagine your attention as a stream of light moving through the landscape of potential. Wherever it flows, form condenses. Objects, experiences, emotions all arise as crystallizations of what has been observed. The moment you turn away, those forms lose clarity, fading back into probability. It's as if the universe breathes with your noticing. Inhale, it becomes. Exhale, it dissolves. This is not mystical escapism, but a reflection of how consciousness interacts with the unfolding pattern of reality. Observation does not merely record, it transforms. A scientist observing an experiment introduces an unavoidable bias, but so does a mind observing its own thoughts. Try for a moment to become aware of your breath without altering it. The instant you notice, it shifts. Observation intervenes, subtly steering what it observes. The same happens with emotion. When anger is watched without judgment, it loses its sharpness. The observer doesn't control, it harmonizes. Awareness stabilizes what is chaotic and releases what is stagnant. This interplay suggests something extraordinary, that perception might be a fundamental creative force. The universe, instead of being a cold mechanism, behaves more like a responsive organism, attuned to the consciousness flowing through it. To observe is to touch the very process of becoming. Reality, then, is not a fixed stage, but a living field, reacting to the gaze that meets it. In the smallest flicker of perception, this principle plays out. Consider the way light meets your eye. The retina doesn't merely capture an image, it converts energy into neural signals that the brain interprets as vision. But what you see is not the raw light. It's a reconstruction, an active rendering shaped by expectation and focus. Your perception is creative, not reflective. And because every brain is unique, every observer generates a slightly different version of the world. Reality splinters into countless perspectives, each legitimate within its own frame of observation. What happens then when attention becomes deliberate? When instead of drifting through habitual perception, you bring awareness to the act of seeing itself. Something profound occurs. Reality becomes pliable. Patterns that seemed fixed begin to yield. You notice synchronicities, improbable alignments, moments when inner thought and outer circumstance mirror each other. This is not coincidence, it is coherence. The observer and the observed synchronize, as if responding to a shared rhythm of awareness. Scientific instruments may struggle to measure this exchange, but the experience is direct and repeatable. Observe with fear, and the world narrows. Observe with openness, and it expands. Each state of consciousness filters what can be perceived, shaping what feels possible. The world you move through is not entirely external. It's an echo of your mode of observation. Even the most neutral gaze carries frequency. What you focus on grows more defined. When attention is scattered, reality becomes fragmented. When concentrated, it acquires intensity and meaning. The ancients spoke of this in different tongues. The eye as the lamp of the body, the seer as co-creator of the seen. Today, physics offers its own echo of that wisdom. The observer effect bridges myth and measurement, suggesting that consciousness is not a late arrival in the cosmic story, but part of its very syntax. If reality responds to being seen, then every moment is a dialogue between existence and awareness. The tree outside your window, the hum of your own heartbeat, the shimmer of distant stars, all are waiting to be activated by perception. To look is to initiate contact, to awaken potential into form. Every gaze, then, carries responsibility. The quality of your attention doesn't only describe the world, it helps construct it. This realization transforms ordinary perception into a sacred act. The eyes cease to be mere instruments of sight. They become conduits of participation. Reality ceases to be something that happens to you. It becomes something that unfolds with you. And in this unfolding, the line between observer and observed begins to blur. What you call the world is not separate from the consciousness that perceives it. It is a mirror responding, reshaping itself every time you look. A single photon leaves a dying star and crosses an ocean of darkness to find you. It enters the thin atmosphere of Earth, bends through your cornea, and ends its long pilgrimage inside the fluid of your eye. That light, older than the human species, completes its story in the instant you notice it. The universe, through that exchange, becomes aware of its own reflection. Seeing is not the mind's privilege. It is the cosmos realizing itself through the instrument of your perception. The human eye is not just a biological organ, it is a transmitter woven into the electromagnetic body of reality. Every blink reactivates the connection between the individual and the total. The cells in your retina absorb starlight and convert it into tiny electrical pulses, which travel through the optic nerve, reaching the cortex like whispers from distant galaxies. But those signals are only the beginning. The act of decoding them involves consciousness, the silent presence that turns information into experience. The universe doesn't stop at the edge of your skin. It flows into you, completing a circuit of recognition. Vision is both physical and metaphysical. The physical process translates light into data, but the deeper process translates being into awareness. Photons vibrate at precise frequencies, but the interpretation of that vibration, color, texture, distance, arises from within. Your brain and your awareness collaborate to produce what you call the world. That means each gaze is not a recording of reality, but a projection of understanding. The eye doesn't just receive, it emits an organizing field that arranges the chaos of possibility into coherent form. This can be sensed in the smallest details. A flower under your attention appears more vivid, not because it changes, but because your perception amplifies its energy. You are not merely observing color, you are harmonizing with it. The same happens with people. When your awareness meets another's eyes, an invisible bridge forms, a pulse of coherence that both can feel but neither can measure. At that moment, two fragments of the universe recognize themselves as the same field, momentarily freed from separation. Modern physics offers a vocabulary for this ancient intuition. Every particle in the universe interacts through fields. Observation itself alters their state. The phenomenon known as quantum entanglement shows that distance does not break connection. A change in one particle echoes instantly in another, no matter the space between them. Consciousness mirrors this principle. Each observer, through perception, participates in the universal network of observation. The eye becomes a node through which the cosmos maintains its own coherence. But this connection is not limited to the quantum realm or to mystical metaphor. It's embedded in daily experience. The light entering your eyes at dawn recalibrates your circadian rhythm. It tells every cell in your body what time it is in the language of photons. You are synchronized with solar cycles, lunar tides, geomagnetic fields. Even the microcurrents of your heartbeat resonate faintly with the Schumann frequencies of the Earth. You live within a system of continual exchange, a feedback loop between the internal and the infinite. To understand this experientially, notice what happens when you observe with full presence. The world sharpens, noise fades, colors seem to glow from within rather than reflect light. This isn't imagination, it's coherence. Focused awareness aligns neural oscillations in the brain, producing measurable synchrony across regions once firing independently. The eye, directed by conscious intent, tunes the body to the frequency of what it beholds. Seeing becomes communion, a mutual calibration between observer and observed. It's tempting to believe the eye is a passive window, yet every moment of sight is an act of creation. The images projected on the retina are incomplete, inverted, fragmented, two-dimensional. The brain reconstructs them, fills gaps, adjusts color, imposes symmetry. Perception invents reality out of probability, guided by what consciousness expects to find. That means the universe you experience is, in part, a response to your inner structure. Your attention edits the infinite into something holdable. Across cultures, seers and philosophers have intuited this. Ancient Egypt revered the Eye of Ra not merely as a symbol of protection, but as the organ through which the cosmos maintained balance. In Vedic philosophy, the third eye represented the portal through which the inner and outer worlds converse. Today, neuroscience whispers the same truth in another tongue. Perception changes the perceiver, and the perceiver alters perception. The eye is the hinge of that exchange, biological, energetic, spiritual. The most profound effect of realizing this connection is the dissolution of the boundary between in here and out there. You stop experiencing sight as the mind looking at an external world and begin to sense it as consciousness looking through matter. Each object becomes a reflection of your own awareness, crystallized into form. The mountain, the wave, the tree are not scenery, but extensions of the same field that looks through your eyes. Seeing them is recognizing yourself in another configuration. This recognition changes the quality of attention. To look without control, without labeling, is to return the universe's gaze. The more open the perception, the more complete the circuit. Even silence becomes luminous, because in that silence the field observes itself unbroken. Every glance is a pulse of unity disguised as vision. The cosmos experiences continuity through your noticing. Imagine standing beneath the stars on a moonless night. Light from billions of suns converges on your pupils, threads of energy bridging unimaginable distances. You are not small under that sky. You are the aperture through which it perceives itself. Each shimmer of starlight becomes both message and response. The universe is not out there. It is happening through you, seeing itself from your vantage point. To live with this awareness is to move differently through the world. The eyes cease to be sensors of separation and become instruments of communion. The ordinary act of looking becomes sacred correspondence. And the question shifts from what do I see to what is the universe seeing through me? In that shift, perception transforms into participation, and existence remembers that it is whole. You are not the observer of the universe. You are its living lens, the point where infinity gathers to know itself again and again through the quiet miracle of your gaze. A beam of attention is never neutral. Wherever your gaze lingers, the invisible begins to take form. In physics, observation determines the state of matter. In consciousness, attention determines the state of experience. Every second you are translating potential into pattern, possibility into presence. To see is to sculpt reality with awareness. Light travels until it meets a receiver. Once observed, it collapses from infinite probability into one tangible outcome. The same principle operates in the realm of the mind. Thoughts drift through an open sky of potential, and attention acts as gravity, pulling one thought into focus, giving it substance. What you repeatedly attend to becomes dense, familiar, real. The world you inhabit is the accumulation of everything you have chosen or allowed to notice. Creation does not always announce itself with thunder. Most of it happens in silence, in the micro-movements of consciousness. You look at a problem, and it solidifies. You look at an opportunity, and it grows direction. Energy follows focus because the universe mirrors the observer's coherence. The sculptor is not outside the sculpture. Each stroke of observation reshapes both the form and the one who perceives it. Every perception is a creative decision. The human brain filters billions of sensory inputs per second, but only a fraction reach conscious awareness. That filtering is not random. It's guided by emotion, expectation, and intent. The unseen algorithm of consciousness decides what qualifies as real. When attention locks onto fear, reality becomes narrow and defensive. When it opens toward curiosity, it multiplies with new patterns. Vision reorganizes the physical, and emotion provides the field's resonance. You are quite literally painting the world with your nervous system. This principle becomes vivid when awareness sharpens. Notice how a single moment of full attention transforms the ordinary. A cup of water, when seen without distraction, ceases to be background. Its surface turns into a landscape of light and movement, alive with reflection. The act of truly seeing invites the universe to reveal more of itself. The object does not change, the observer does, and in that change new information becomes available. Creation unfolds at the meeting point between focus and openness. Too rigid an attention, and reality suffocates under control. Too diffuse, and potential dissolves before it can take form. The art lies in a balanced gaze, one that invites without gripping. The painter who overworks the canvas loses the spark. The creator who observes with trust allows emergence. Reality, it turns out, prefers cooperation over command. In the language of science, this cooperation resembles resonance. Two systems vibrating at compatible frequencies begin to amplify each other. Consciousness works the same way. When your focus resonates with gratitude, peace, or curiosity, it aligns the surrounding field into coherence. Circumstances appear to respond, but what actually shifts is the informational pattern through which you perceive them. The eye radiates coherence, and matter reflects that order back. Seeing becomes a subtle act of tuning the world toward harmony. That's why attention carries responsibility. Every image you consume, every thought you sustain, every emotion you indulge, participates in shaping the shared field of experience. You are constantly broadcasting frequency through perception. The universe receives your signal and arranges itself accordingly, not as punishment or reward, but as correspondence. If you see division, you amplify it. If you see wholeness, it begins to take shape. The creative act of seeing never pauses. It continues even in sleep, as dreams rearrange the fabric of memory into meaning. To create consciously, the gaze must become deliberate. Start noticing what truly deserves your awareness. Observe how attention can be reclaimed from noise, redirected toward coherence. A single mindful glance carries more creative force than hours of distracted looking. It's not intensity that generates creation, but clarity. The clearer the attention, the purer the signal transmitted to the field. This principle echoes in ancient traditions disguised as prayer, meditation, or visualization, each an exercise in refining the quality of perception, not to escape reality, but to engage with it more skillfully. The mystic and the scientist meet here. Both understand that observation rearranges what it touches. Your attention, steady and alive, is the fundamental instrument through which the invisible becomes tangible. Yet the process is never mechanical. It requires intimacy with what is seen. Creation through seeing is not about forcing outcomes, but about establishing relationship. To truly look at something, A tree, a human face, a challenge, is to let it reveal its intelligence. Observation becomes dialogue. The observer listens, the world responds. From that mutual resonance, form arises naturally, often beyond intention or plan. Every work of art, every scientific discovery, every moment of healing begins with this act of intimate observation. Someone, somewhere, looked closely enough that possibility had no choice but to materialize. Seeing is the birthplace of form. The universe depends on perception to evolve. It needs witnesses who look deeply enough to awaken what sleeps in potential. Through you, reality continues to write itself. And beneath all this, a question hums quietly. What are you choosing to create with your sight right now? The images that fill your mind, the tone of attention you bring to the world, are not private. They ripple outward. You are feeding the collective field every time you look. Perhaps that is the true power of awareness, not to dominate the universe, but to collaborate with it in beauty. Each glance becomes an offering, each perception an act of communion. Seeing transforms into prayer, not of words but of recognition. So as you finish this reflection, let your next act of creation be simple. Look around with presence. Notice one thing that feels alive in your field of view. Maybe the light on the wall, a familiar object, or your own reflection. Realize that your attention is the brush painting that moment into existence. If this truth stirs something in you, acknowledge it. Honor your role as a co-creator in this vast, luminous field. And before you move on, take a breath, feel that connection, and then like this video to strengthen the signal of conscious attention, and write in the comments the phrase, "I see, therefore I create." Let those words become your first visible act of creation today. A single thought of separation divides the ocean into waves. The eye believes it stands apart from what it sees, yet everything in the act of perception contradicts that belief. Between the seer and the seen, there is no real border, only the illusion of distance woven by language and habit. The same light that forms the image on your retina also forms the object you perceive. The same consciousness that notices the world also constructs the sense of I who is noticing. Observer and observed are two faces of one awareness looking at itself from opposite sides of the mirror. Every act of seeing begins with unity. Before the brain names what the eyes capture, there is only undivided experience, pure sensation without category. That silent moment is the birthplace of all perception. Out of it, the mind begins to carve distinctions. This is me, that is the world. This is subject, that is object. These partitions serve a purpose. They help us navigate form. But behind every boundary, the field remains whole. You are not an island watching the universe from a distance. You are the universe concentrated into a point of view. Physics echoes this truth in its own vocabulary. Entanglement shows that particles once connected remain linked across distance, as if space were an illusion within a deeper fabric of coherence. The observer cannot be fully extracted from the system they observe. In quantum mechanics, even the measuring device becomes part of the experiment. Likewise, consciousness cannot study the universe without altering itself, for the two are continuous. The wave and the ocean are the same water taking different shapes. This continuity explains the mysterious sense of recognition you sometimes feel when looking at the world, the quiet certainty that what you see is somehow familiar. It's not nostalgia, it's remembrance. The tree, the sky, the passing faces on the street are expressions of the same source vibrating in different patterns. You meet yourself in every reflection. The reason beauty arrests the mind is not because it is foreign, but because it returns you to what you already are. When this truth begins to settle, perception changes texture. You stop trying to conquer reality through analysis and start participating in its unfolding. Observation transforms into communion. Every movement of awareness becomes a conversation between one form of consciousness and another. The world stops being scenery and starts being language, a dialogue of resonance. The rain speaks to the same intelligence that listens inside you. Each sound, color, and motion becomes a sentence in a book written by unity and read by itself. Science offers metaphors, but experience offers evidence. Watch your breath for a moment. Feel the air entering and leaving your body. That exchange, invisible yet constant, is the same rhythm that moves through the tides, the heartbeat of the planet itself. You inhale the atmosphere exhaled by trees. They inhale what you release. The division between my breath and the air dissolves. This simple observation reveals what all mystical traditions have taught. Life is one continuous process appearing as many. To perceive unity is not to deny individuality, but to understand it as expression rather than isolation. Each consciousness is a window through which the infinite explores itself. The observer and the observed are not two entities exchanging glances. They are one awareness, folding and unfolding in an endless dance of self-recognition. The mountain becomes the eye that sees it. The sound becomes the ear that hears it. The universe turns inward through every act of perception. In practical terms, this realization softens the sharp edges of existence. Conflict loses some of its gravity, for how can you truly oppose what is also you? Compassion ceases to be moral duty and becomes natural response. To harm another is to fracture the field you share. To understand another is to expand your own boundary of being. Seeing unity is not an escape from reality, it is the deepest participation within it. The mind resists this because it fears dissolution. It clings to its shape, its name, its timeline. Yet even that resistance is part of the same field. The ego is the surface tension of consciousness, the way the infinite maintains form long enough to interact with itself. To realize unity does not erase individuality, it restores proportion. You remain a wave, but you remember the ocean. You act, but your actions flow with the current rather than against it. In moments of clarity, the distinction between inner and outer collapses. You think of someone, and they call. You feel a subtle harmony between your emotion and the weather, between your thought and the sound of a passing bird. These are not coincidences, they are glimpses of coherence. The field is always in conversation with itself, responding instantly to every modulation of awareness. What you call synchronicity is simply the recognition of that seamless conversation. This unity extends even into perception's silence. Close your eyes and the images fade, yet awareness remains, vast and unbroken. The darkness behind your eyelids is not emptiness but potential. The same field that paints colors and forms now rests, waiting for the next act of observation to give it shape. Whether filled with vision or still in quiet, it remains the same consciousness. There was never separation, only changing expressions of one continuum. When you begin to live from this understanding, the world regains its sacred dimension. The smallest detail becomes luminous with significance. A raindrop sliding down glass, a stranger's laugh, the warmth of sunlight. Each becomes a reminder that you are not witnessing life from the outside. You are life noticing itself. The ordinary transforms because the veil of separation has thinned. Seeing the world becomes an act of reverence rather than consumption. This is not philosophy to be believed, it is perception to be verified through attention. Observe anything long enough with openness, and the line between self and object will blur. Awareness expands to include both. The flower no longer sits apart from the one who observes it. Both are held within a single field of consciousness. In that realization, peace arises, not the peace of absence but the peace of recognition. The observer and the observed are one, not metaphorically, not symbolically, but literally within the fabric of being. Every photon that reaches your eye carries the same intelligence that allows you to see it. Every sound that vibrates in your ear comes from the same silence that listens. You are not looking at the universe, you are the universe looking. The mirror was never two. Each act of awareness is a bridge through which existence remembers itself. The moment you stop watching the world as something outside and begin to sense it moving through you, perception becomes revelation. The eyes no longer separate, they unite. Every glance turns sacred because it carries the spark of recognition, the cosmos awakening in human form. To see consciously is to let the infinite breathe through your vision and shape the visible anew. If you felt this truth resonate, write in the comments, "The universe sees through me, so I know you reach the end." And subscribe if you want more journeys like this, where science and spirit meet in the light of awareness.